From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Palestinian basketball star Mohammed Sha'alan shot dead by Israeli forces while collecting food for his children. This and more coming up in today's show, so stay tuned. The Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, says it will now refer to the Israeli military as a terrorist organization. This is after a deadly hospital attack in Gaza yesterday. At least 20 people, including 5 journalists, were killed when Israeli forces carried out a double-tap strike on Nasser Medical Complex in Khan Yunis. The bombing targeted the hospital's 4th floor, followed by a second strike that hit first responders trying to help the injured from the first strike. CAIR said killing civilians, including journalists and first responders, to achieve a political or religious goal is the very definition of terrorism. It said the Israeli government is engaged in state terrorism on a massive scale. The American Muslim Civil Rights Organization said, "We will no longer refer to the IDF as a military or its members as soldiers. They are cowards, war criminals, and terrorists." CAIR is urging Washington and the international community to immediately halt all military aid to Israel, impose sanctions, support a full investigation into war crimes, and end the genocide in Gaza. Israeli soldiers killed at least 75 Palestinians and wounded 370 in attacks across Gaza in the last 24 hours, the health ministry said. The dead include 17 people waiting for food aid. 3 more Palestinians died of hunger from Israel's ongoing blockade of food and humanitarian aid, raising the starvation toll since October 2023 to 303, including 117 children. Israeli airstrikes killed 7 people in Gaza City Sabra neighborhood and 4 in Al-Saftawi. A mother and her toddler were killed in Deir al-Balah. In Khan Yunis, 6 members of one family, including 3 children, died when Israeli strikes hit their tent. Israeli strikes also hit Nusayrat and Bureish camps. Meanwhile, aid shortages remain severe. Gaza officials say only 2,654 trucks entered in a month, an average 88 per day, just 15% of the need. Israel claims 300 to 400 trucks enter daily, but its own data contradicts that. Qatar says it awaits Israel's reply to a proposed truce and prisoner swap. More than 200 former EU diplomats in a signed letter have called for collective action over Israel's genocide in Gaza and occupation of the West Bank. Israel has killed over 64,000 Palestinians in its genocide of Gaza since October 2023, most of them women, children, and the elderly. Israeli soldiers shot dead Palestinian basketball star Mohammed Sha'alan in Khan Yunis while he was trying to collect food for his 5 children. A single bullet ended the life of the national team player near a U.S.-backed aid distribution site on Wednesday. Sha'alan's wife said he had promised their youngest daughter sweets before leaving home. His family had run out of flour and debts were piling up as he struggled to buy food and medicine. One of his daughters urgently needs surgery. The health ministry says that Israel has killed more than 2,000 Palestinians and injured over 15,000 at these aid points since May. Sha'alan had played for Gaza's leading clubs and earned a place on Palestine's national team. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or OIC, adopted a resolution on Monday in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, demanding sanctions and an arms embargo on Israel. The 57-member bloc warned that it would push to suspend Israel's membership at the UN General Assembly in September if the war and famine in Gaza persist. The session, called by Palestine, Turkey, and Iran, mandated OIC members that are parties to the Rome Statute to enforce International Criminal Court arrest warrants against Israeli officials. The Council accused Israel of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. The resolution urged an immediate ceasefire, Israel's withdrawal from Gaza, and the opening of all crossings for food and medicine. It also pressed members to suspend arms exports, impose sanctions, and review ties. The bloc reaffirmed that only a 2-state solution, with East Jerusalem as Palestine's capital, can deliver lasting peace. The UN Special Rapporteur for Palestine, Francesca Albanese, will take part in a tribunal in September to examine Britain's role in Israel's genocide in Gaza. The 2-day event is being organized by former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. It will feature testimonies from Palestinian survivors and international law experts. Corbyn said the tribunal would reveal the full scale of UK complicity in genocide, drawing parallels with earlier inquiries into the Iraq War. Albanese, who has been sanctioned by the U.S. for her criticism of Israel, will be asked about the use of Royal Air Force bases in Cyprus to support Israeli operations. The UK continues to provide intelligence and military support to Israel, despite Labour later calling for a ceasefire and aid to Gaza. The International Court of Justice has found a plausible case of genocide, while the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Israel's top leaders. Protesters gathered outside CNN headquarters in Washington on Monday, carrying banners and chanting against CNN's reporting. They accuse the network's anchors Dana Bash and Wolf Blitzer of covering up Israeli war crimes. Organizers also said the network ignored Palestinian suffering while amplifying Israeli narratives. The rally was organized to condemn what they called biased coverage of Israel's actions in Gaza. The protest drew dozens of activists who vowed to continue pressuring U.S. media outlets. CNN has not responded publicly to the criticism. Judge tosses Trump administration lawsuit against all Maryland federal judges. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Federal Judge Thomas Cullen threw out a lawsuit by the Trump administration brought earlier this year against all 15 federal judges in Maryland. In a 36-page ruling today, Cullen said the Justice Department could not pursue what he called a constitutional free-for-all. He said federal judges are immune from such suits brought by the executive branch. Cullen was appointed to the bench by President Donald Trump during his first term. He was brought in from another district to handle the case in Maryland. President Donald Trump has denied accusations of authoritarianism after deploying the military in Washington and threatening to send troops to other cities across the country. Trump said he is not a dictator and described himself as a man of great common sense. He claimed that his decision to send troops was aimed at tackling crime and restoring order. The move has drawn criticism, including from Republicans, with opponents saying it violates the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act, which restricts the military from civilian law enforcement. Trump claims success in reducing crime in Washington, pointing to a recent streak without murders. However, official records show the city has seen longer such periods earlier this year. Trump said the military is ready to be deployed to any U.S. city, even without a governor's request. But Trump added that he would prefer to be asked before sending troops. More than 180 employees of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, have accused the Trump administration of crippling the country's disaster response system. In a letter to Congress, they said unqualified leadership and political meddling have left the agency unable to protect Americans. The letter warned that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and acting FEMA chiefs David Richardson and Cameron Hamilton have imposed rules that slow contracts and dismiss veteran staff. Workers said hurricane season began without a qualified administrator, recalling the failures of Hurricane Katrina in 2005. They accused the administration of censoring climate science, scrapping the Future Risk Index, and draining FEMA's workforce. 1/3 of full-time staffers have already left this year. The employees said the problems were clear during deadly Texas floods that killed more than 130 people. Trump has previously said he wants FEMA dismantled, leaving states to handle disasters alone. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar sharply criticized her own Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party, or DFL, for revoking its endorsement of State Senator Omar Fateh in the Minneapolis mayoral race. Omar called the move inexcusable, saying it overturned the will of local delegates who had spent months backing Fateh. She accused party leaders, many from outside Minneapolis, of silencing progressives and discouraging voters. Fateh, a Somali-American and the first black mayoral candidate endorsed by the DFL in 3 decades, had won support at a July convention over incumbent Mayor Jacob Frey. The endorsement was later revoked, with party leaders citing problems in the process, not Fateh's socialist politics. Omar and other progressive officials issued a letter condemning the decision as part of the growing divide between progressive and moderate Democrats. The Minneapolis mayoral election is set for November, with Fateh still in the race despite losing the party's backing. Israeli warplanes struck multiple targets in Yemen's capital Sana'a, killing 6 people and wounding dozens, according to Houthi officials. The attacks were launched in retaliation for Houthi missiles fired towards Israel. The Israeli military said the strikes hit a military compound that included the presidential palace as well as power plants and a fuel depot. It said the action came after repeated Houthi missile and drone launches against Israeli territory. Health officials in Sana'a reported 86 injuries in addition to 6 deaths. A senior Houthi figure vowed the group would continue attacks in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. The Houthis claimed responsibility for a new ballistic missile aimed at Israel on Friday. Israeli officials said the missile carried submunitions designed to explode on impact, marking the first time such a weapon was launched from Yemen. Analysts say the strikes highlight a growing spillover from the Gaza war into the wider region. Pakistan and Bangladesh have signed 6 agreements during the first visit this week by a Pakistani foreign minister to Bangladesh's capital Dhaka in 13 years. The pacts include visa-free travel for official passport holders, trade cooperation, cultural exchanges, and collaboration between foreign service academies and state news agencies. Direct flights between Dhaka and Pakistan's largest city, Karachi, are also expected to resume by year's end. Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar urged both nations to move beyond the disputes of the 1971 war. However, Bangladesh's foreign advisor Mohammad Tauheed Hussain insisted that Pakistan must apologize for atrocities during the war, take back stranded citizens, and resolve claims over shared assets. The visit comes after the fall of former Prime Minister of Bangladesh Sheikh Hasina's government last year. The United Nations says the Rohingya crisis has grown worse 8 years after their mass displacement from Burma's Rakhine state. The UN Human Rights Office called for ending impunity for crimes against the Muslim minority. Spokesperson Jeremy Lawrence said the Rohingya must be guaranteed security, citizenship, and equality to break the cycle of violence. More than 1 million people fled the Burmese military's brutal offensive in 2017, which UN investigators have called ethnic cleansing. They remain in camps in Bangladesh, stripped of rights and with no hope of return. The UN says fighting between Burma's junta and the Arakan army has displaced even more people. Both sides are accused of committing atrocities. While aid is dwindling, funding cuts have slashed food supplies. The UN Refugee Agency says it needs $256 million this year, but has only secured 38% of the amount. The UN is urging stronger international support and accountability to address the worsening crisis. Bees may hold the key to a new generation of artificial intelligence. A University of Sheffield study published in eLife has found that bees use flight movements to sharpen brain signals, allowing them to recognize patterns with surprising accuracy. Scientists built a digital model of a bee's brain and discovered this movement-based perception helps bees learn complex shapes, even human faces with few neurons. Scientists say the research shows that intelligence is not just about brain size, but how brains, bodies, and the environment work together. By mimicking bees, future AI and robotics could become more efficient, using movement to collect key information instead of relying on massive computer networks. This could transform self-driving cars, drones, and other technologies. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. Please donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.